We got a hell of a show today.
Yeah, we do.
I'm excited.
Yeah, we are.
Are you my background singer?
I'm the hype man.
Welcome to the More Than Meatheads podcast. This is Shane.
And Lewis.
You can find us on Instagram at more_than_meatheads, on More Than Meatheads on Facebook, on YouTube, where this interview definitely will be, where our channel is named, what is it? Oh yeah, More Than Meatheads. Mm-hmm. And then on the interwebs, morethanmeatheads.com. That means .com.
So yeah, great interview coming up today. Really excited about it.
Really happy. No, actually, this is, I guess, like quantitatively, is our biggest.
It's a heavy hitter. It's a heavy hitter.
I am a very big fan of our guest that's going to be on today, Dr. Mike Israetel. You can find him on Instagram at rp.drmike, rp strength, and rp transformations. You can find him and his work, and he's reached and helped a lot of people.
Yeah, he's reached so many people that he's kind of like left the one-on-one aspect of it, and it's all virtual, and it's all through his app, and it's all YouTube videos and lectures and everything else. So he's refined his knowledge, his product, his practice so much now that it can help that many more people.
Yes, I am honored to be part of the search algorithm when you look up his name. So we're looking forward to this, and I can't wait for you to listen. So enjoy.
Hope you guys liked the interview because we had a great time recording it. Okay, enjoy. Bye.
All right, on the podcast today, live in person Zoom, we have Dr. Mike Israetel, world famous at this point. I've seen, at this point, years of his content, but I'm just going to read you down so I don't get too fan-struck right now. PhD in sport physiology, chief content officer on Renaissance periodization, professor of exercise and sports science at Lehman College. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on your show, you meatheads.
More than
meathead. You know,
have to prove
it's
that
messed
on
up.
this show because meatheads to me right now until you say some intellectual shit.
We're like a sophisticated savages, if you will. You know,
that sounds good.
Caveman connoisseurs.
So
wow, you have more.
You're just coming up with this on the fly.
I try to go for triples.
Yes. So I first got introduced to your content through Renaissance periodization. I've seen you on the internet ever since, and followed a lot of what you had to say. You have hours and hours of content out there for anyone to listen or watch. Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself, a little backstory, what Renaissance periodization is, and how they can benefit from it?
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Mike Israetel. I got a PhD in sport physiology from East Tennessee State University, where my graduate studies were taking good athletes and making them better. I also had experience there with writing diets for weightlifters to get them into the right weight class and performing really highly. And I've coached a whole bunch of people. I've actually used to work in New York City. I was a personal trainer in New York City for a little while. And once I started getting my PhD, realized that science can offer a lot more than just, fly by the seat of the pants kind of coaching. So my colleague and I, Nick, he and I started Renaissance periodization to just try to get science to more people and to get high quality coaching to more people. Eventually, people started asking us about what our principles were, so we started putting out books. And then eventually, a lot of people wanted our services, so we made some templates and then some apps to help people access RP-style dieting and training digitally. And I was a professor sort of that whole time when the company was growing. And now the company is nice and large, engorged, you could say, and
goals.
And
I get it.
Yeah, hashtag goals. And then so I'm still a professor part time, but most of the time I do just RP work. And I'm also a bodybuilder. I train for bodybuilding and compete in bodybuilding, and I train in jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu grappling, and I do that for fun. And that's it. I have no.
I like how you
friends
say you do jiu-jitsu for fun. You just. It's just a little pastime hobby of yours of learning how to wrap a human up into a pretzel.
It's fun to wrap it. Have you ever wrapped someone else into a pretzel? It's really fun.
Yeah, but that costs me extra. So, I didn't take a class on it. It was just
you're more of a natural.
Yeah.
Yeah, growing up in the streets.
You got to do what you got to do for rent. Anyway,
100%.
moving along.
So you mentioned a couple things. I actually didn't know that you worked as a personal trainer in New York. Where
For
did you work at?
definitions,
Where was that?
Definitions.
definitions in Manhattan.
That where was that? I don't think that exists anymore.
It does. It's that low scale that you've never heard of it. So
Or that upscale.
right. So it is actually it is really upscale. It's private personal training studios. They have like 3 locations. I worked out of mostly the 59th, 58th, 59th Street location, and that was in Midtown. And then I have a 14th Street location. But it's basically where people who have a shitload of money to spend on personal training show up. And
Now that's
they get a
definitions
trainer
of
of their own.
1F, correct? Because I'm going to be looking this up afterwards.
Just one, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe our mutual friend Marcos Rodriguez worked there for like a week or something, and then he was like, "Fuck that." But we actually met Marcos through a friend of ours who worked with us at Definitions.
Oh, look at
so
that.
Nick-
6
Nick
degrees
and I
of
worked
Marcos
there.
Rodriguez. There you go.
Literally, that's the only way we would have ever found out who he was, and that's why I'm on the show. So, yeah, personal training, super rich people was kind of trippy. I mean, I got the chance to train like the Chief Information Officer, CIO at Bloomberg, which is like, and I don't know, that guy probably like if he cuts his finger, he bleeds out money, and then like a bunch of hedge fund managers and stuff. So it was real trippy to see like the people who are so busy that it just doesn't make any sense. They're like, yeah, I'm like a corporate lawyer, but on the weekends I'm also like a circuit court judge. And you're like, what the fuck? How do you sleep? And a lot of times, like as a trainer with people that busy, you have to really like talk about nutrition and sleep and relaxation with them because they work on the New York mindset of like sleep as like an LOL thing that people in the suburbs do. You guys know what I'm talking about too, like city people.
Yeah, no,
crazy.
absolutely. Which is why I want to ask you, do you feel like, I'm assuming you didn't start at Definitions and you didn't start training that, we'll call it tax bracket right out the gate. So you started like, presumptuously.
College students.
Yes, exactly. So they don't have as much disposable income as these upper tax bracket people. Did you find the mentality was different with people that were potentially not making as much money as opposed to the mentality of the people that were already making a fuck ton of money?
Yeah. You guys ready for some political incorrectness?
Yes.
Please, I'll turn up the volume.
Sweet. I found that not as a rule, but as a generality, most people that I trained that were incredibly wealthy were just really good people. Like they show up on time more often to training. They try harder when you ask them to try. If they are serious about a diet and they start doing a diet, they just don't really miss as often as people who are just kind of exploring. And there's an age bias there because a lot of the people I trained that were poorer were younger. And when you're young, like you just like kind of fuck around a lot. Like you're not really super serious. My best clients ever as far as dependability and reliability and executing the plan were probably, I'd have to say, female corporate lawyers in their 50s.
Holy shit. All right.
Yeah, they're just machines. You're just like, do this. And they're like, got it. And they don't miss. They're way over intelligent. Like the intelligence quota to understand your plan. They're like triple the intelligence needed to understand what you're saying to them. And also because they're corporate lawyers, that means they went to like Princeton, Harvard, Yale or some shit. They're the smartest person they knew for years before they ever got to an Ivy League school. And they're brutal, like hardworking, psychotic people. You don't just go to Harvard Law and you're a lazy piece of shit. That just doesn't happen. You sure as hell don't graduate like that. So when these people come into contact with training, I mean, they're used to 100-hour work weeks. They're just animals. And they're like, hey, like, here's all you have to do is eat these 3 meals and don't eat anything else. Got it? They're like, okay. And then they do it for 3 months and they lose 18 pounds of pure fat. And they're like, I did it. I got to my goal. And okay, here's how you need to eat from now on to keep it. They're like, great. Follow up with them a year later. They're still lean, still doing it, still loving it. I'm like, oh my God, you're a fucking machine. And that's just what I tend to notice. Now, that's not all rich people. I have had the opportunity, displeasure, to be a personal trainer to the kids of super rich people. And I don't know if the kids really wanted to be there, / the parents maybe were like, hey, go get in shape.
Or maybe they
Awful.
just didn't appreciate
Terrible.
it as much.
Right. Because they weren't paying for it. And they didn't even
Yeah.
have a concept of money that makes any fucking sense. And a lot of those kids are just like entitled, lazy pieces of shit. But for the most part, people that are ultra wealthy, not only just because they're super respectful, super kind, there's a couple of rich assholes, but like they're a rich Jewish asshole, so I could level with them, and they're like, all right, fuck it, he's also a Jew. Okay, just like stop bitching and start
You
training.
can say this. You're part of the
yeah,
tribe.
because you know, like, because Jews bicker a lot. You guys know this. You're from New York, and non-Jews come to get intimidated. They're like, oh my god, am I supposed to take this person seriously? No, you're not. You go like, hey, thanks for your opinion, old man. Get on the bench press. And he's like, hey, all right, and he just does it. You're like,
Yeah,
see,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
all it took. So,
Well,
but
I'm
for
also
the most part, it was a very pleasant experience.
for just to people who don't see this on YouTube and just are listening to this, you're also built like a shit brick house. So when you tell someone to do something, they're gonna do it. So
yeah, I mean, well, also they pay me for that shit. Like, you didn't come to argue with your fucking personal trainer. Like, if you think you know training better than me, feel free to get the fuck out of my face. I wouldn't say that in real life, but there's polite ways of saying
that was your internal monologue.
Yeah, sure. The polite way is like, well, you know, I think this is probably the best way forward if you're going to enhance your fitness. And that is my professional opinion. And they're like, okay. And also clients will bicker with you and you can talk to them. You can justify like, oh, I don't like the squats. They hurt my hip. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just try them light with a full range of motion and see if that hurts. Like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, well, let's just try it. They do it. And I'm like, does it hurt? They're like, no, it feels fine. I'm like, sweet. Welcome to squatting. And all of a sudden you convince them to do something just because you didn't yell at them or get into that bickering thing with them. So for me, it was a really good opportunity to work on my politeness and my arguing to convince people to do things rather than arguing to make them look stupid or win an argument. Because nobody cares if you win an argument with your client. The motherfucker pays you, right? So what you got to do is get him to feel like he's winning the argument and come to your side, and not like in some kind of ulterior motive way, but just being really straightforward and genuine. Like, no, I understand you have a hip issue, but let's give this a quick shot. And if it doesn't work, we'll just go back to doing leg press. No big deal. And they're like, all right, fine. And they try it because they've never squatted with proper technique before. You guys know what people consider a squat in their own free time.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Kind of nonsense. So you get them to squat properly and they're like, oh, that actually feels really good. And you're like, cool. You do that for long enough, you get a crazy amount of buy-in. I had a ton of buy-in towards the end of my personal training career there from like curmudgeon-y old Jewish assholes that hate everyone. But now they trust me because I never lied to them and I got them all these great results. And they're like, oh,
well, yeah, you became an authority
today, huh?
and you became a credible source for them. So you earned their trust. So
totally,
would you say that building that buy-in with little wins consistently over time was a little bit of the inspiration behind the auto templates on RP? Because it's like what I've seen of those is that it's these general principles that are applied over time where it's not that it's not sexy, but it's not like flashy. It's just the basics
simple,
consistently done.
Yeah, 100%. So when we build the templates are real tough because you gotta like the templates in the app. You gotta understand that shit without anyone telling you what to do. Like you just have to look at it and it has to make sense. So it has to be really simple. It has to meet people where they are. Like I'm not trying to throw terms at you in the templates or app that you don't understand and everything gets a justification, but it's real straightforward. When people read straightforward stuff, like, well, that makes plenty of sense. And then they buy in. If you have all this over technical like language or doing weird shit that you're never explaining, then people will be really confused and less likely to adopt it, or more likely they're going to still try adopt it. But when shit gets hard, they're gonna be like, fuck this, I hate this shit anyway. But when they understand the clear logical purpose of what they're doing, they're like, okay, this is lower calories. I was taught to expect this. I was also taught to expect that it was going to suck a little. So when it starts sucking, they're like, oh, it's part of the process. So yeah, simplicity and meeting people where they are is really good. I mean, I was spoiled because the super wealthy people that I was training in New York were almost all super brilliant. So they don't have trouble understanding anything, but there's in fitness, very few concepts that are that difficult to understand for anyone of any intelligence. It's just people really suck at explaining them. And sometimes they try to overcomplicate shit. Like, like, well, the myofascia is going to connect. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, let's get you under heavy weight, and we're going to stimulate muscle growth because when your muscles feel the heavy stretch of a load, they tend to grow. Does that make sense? Like, no, yeah, it makes perfect sense. All right, sweet. Here's why you're going to be in pain today. And then another thing is like when people are hurting during exercise, they're like, why am I hurting? Like, is there any way we can do this which is less discomforting? And like, well, like most systems don't get better unless you push them into that rarefied air where things are hard. And I literally have asked people this question. I was like, let me ask you a question. What was Harvard law like? They're like, it was brutal. Did it make you better at law? They're like, it made me who I am today. I'm like, lifting is the same way. You got to go into the difficult zones to get the most benefit. You tell someone who fucking went to law school that suffering is what they're going to have to do. They're like, oh, suffering. I had a fucking doctoral degree in that shit. And then all of a sudden they buy in because, like these people go to pick up a cup of coffee at Starbucks. they don't expect suffering. They get their driver to pick them up in the morning and take them to work. They don't expect suffering. They go to work, they expect suffering. But they come to training, they're like, I guess this is sort of for entertainment and it's fitness. It's supposed to be fun. It's getting me in shape. And then all of a sudden they meet suffering. They're like, what the fuck? I don't understand the context for this. And you're like, oh no, I can put it in your context. This is a job and we're here to make shit better, which means we're going to be uncomfortable. For people like that built empires and shit like that, they're like, oh, no problem. And then they're fucking workhorses.
Now you've challenged them, and now they see
100%
to go. Yeah,
100%. I'd be
like, do you feel like with the advent of social media and where everything is, the expectations are thrown out there where it isn't that hard, everything is flashy, everything's through a filter. Have you found that with the people, say, using the RP service, that there is more of a disconnect with that, where there's these myths out there about what it actually takes to be successful?
Yeah. Some people want more flexibility, for example, than is due to them. So I'll give you a really good one. And this will change as the app gets updated. We'll have more advanced features, but currently the RP Diet app gives you the rough macros you're supposed to hit for every meal. Now you choose how many meals a day you want. But after that, we believe you and say, okay, you pick 3 meals a day. You're going to have this much protein, this much carbs, this much fat at this meal, that meal, that meal. And a lot of people will comment, like when they review the app or they'll talk to us, they'll say, man, like, why can't I just type in the macros I ate? They're like, no, you understand, it's a diet. You're supposed to be eating this. Like, that's what gets you in shape. Telling a food tracker that you ate some bullshit doesn't get you in shape because it doesn't make you eat a certain amount of food. Eat this and don't eat that other shit and you will get in shape. And they're like, fuck, you're right. Because a lot of people get so much flexibility, right? They're like, so for example, MyFitnessPal, absolutely phenomenal product, great product. The thing is, MyFitnessPal doesn't really tell you what to eat. It just lets you type the shit in.
It's just
so
information.
If you type in a bunch of bullshit, maybe you'll get a little bit of guilt about it and you won't type in too much bullshit and you'll actually eat better. But an app that tells you, here's what you should be eating, is both more effective, but also a bit more shocking. So you got to sort of get people into that mindset of like, the app's a diet coach, and it's really called the RP Diet Coach. Like when a coach tells you to do something, can you imagine like training for someone in football and be like, okay, I really want to be a top tier high school football player so I get recruited to colleges. And when you're 15 years old, your parents take you to a football development camp and they're like, okay, like go ahead and like run 30-meter sprints with 6 seconds between, do 3 of them. And you're like, ooh, can we do like 20-meter sprints with 5 seconds? Shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? Like, you paid us money to get you in shape. Shut up and do what you're told. With the RP Diet Coach, that messaging has to be softer, but it nonetheless has to be there. Like, oh, look, if you want results, you kind of got to do what the app says. And to your point of like social media and people just being able to like sort of like get the easy shit right away, some people are used to that. And then they'll say like, well, this app should be super flexible to allow me to do X, Y, Z. Sometimes they make a really good point. Other times it's like, I feel like at that level of flexibility, you're just going to go nowhere with your fitness goals, which is exactly where you've been going. I had an in-person client like that once in New York where she was like, when are we going to do like Bosu ball stuff? Because I want to work on my abs. Like, that has nothing to do with your abs. We're doing compound hardcore heavy lifting. It's going to make your whole body awesome and your abs. And she kept saying often enough, she kept asking about like, well, I want to do the fun stuff. This is boring. I don't like lifting heavy. I legitimately lied to her about why I was doing this. White lie, I will say, and ported her off to another trainer. And that trainer was just like a person who was incredible at gossip, and he would love to talk. She always wanted to gossip. I love gossip, but I can't derelict my duties in making you get into better shape while we gossip. And like clients will talk to you, but sometimes you get a bit,
shut up. Next set. Yeah.
But like she wasn't really into that. So I was like, great, you'll take this guy and he'll be great. And she took him on as a trainer. I don't know if she ever got in shape. She was already like fine. She was 100% fine, but she sure as hell like loved training with him because they would just gossip about like Latin soap operas the entire time. It was awesome.
I feel attacked now. I feel attacked.
They were gossiping about you is what I was trying to say. Like, yeah, this Luis guy, he's a real piece of shit.
Mike, you you mentioned MyFitnessPal, and in comparison as a product to your app, I find that MyFitnessPal is a great introductory to like, to assess what level someone's on. But then your app is more like, all right, now we're going to get serious.
It's a results app. Yeah.
MyFitnessPal is the gossip trainer at the gym.
Yeah. It's like, all right, you're going to come in and do some stuff, but you're not really, it's tip of the iceberg results. And RP is more of a, all right, now we're going to get, to next level type of shit.
Yeah. Another thing though
how do you
is-
assess
sorry,
how
go
do you
ahead.
assess a person when you first meet them to figure out if they're a MyFitnessPal type of person or an RP Strength type person?
Are you Dominican by any chance?
No. Is
What
that one
are
of the
you?
qualifications?
Absolutely.
Or is that one of the disqualifications?
The Dominicans get so Marcos Rodriguez is Dominican, so Dominicans get half off using the RP Diet app.
Will they simply just get half off by wearing socks at the gym?
That's fucked up. That's Marcos, man. I'm gonna leave that one alone. So how do we assess people is we ask them how much weight they want to lose or gain, how long of a time frame they can do this in, and we tell them at every step of the process to try to moderate their goals so they're not trying to reach for the sky. A humongous issue we've had as old as the company has ever been, and the entire time the app has been in effect, is people will look at what the app can do for them. So it can get you to lose 2 pounds a week for 12 weeks straight. And they go, great, I'll just do it. What some of them don't consider is that the app doesn't do shit. It just tells you what to eat. And if you're going to be losing 2 pounds a week for 12 weeks straight, that's going to be very, very little food. And you're going to be fucking miserable. And you're probably going to burn out. So the app has to be powerful enough to handle almost every case. But what we do is when we ask the person, hey, how much weight do you want to lose? They click on anything, this thing comes up and it's like, hey, the weight loss goal you've chosen is considered, quote unquote, very aggressive. It's going to be really tough. You might fall off the wagon. So unless you're really experienced in dieting and you're really sure you know what you're doing, just unclick this right now and go back up to the easier one. We'd much rather have people lose like a pound every 2 weeks for 12 weeks straight. And then they lose 6 pounds, but it was an easy diet. And they have all this confidence like, oh my God, I can't believe I did it. Later in the year, they can do another diet, lose another 6 pounds. Couple of years like that, and they're down to a super awesome weight, and it never hurt them. Whereas somebody who's like, oh, 24 pounds, I could just lose this all in 12 weeks. They burn out. They have a negative experience. They've wasted their money because they paid us for fucking nothing. And also, a lot of times it'll create like too hard of a diet. You guys know, like creates that like feedback loop where you a yo-yo diet, and you bounce
The
right out
rebound,
of it.
yeah, the rebound
heavier.
element.
Yeah, totally. So we really try to guide people along to make wise choices. At the same time, it's AI. The computer fundamentally doesn't care what you say. It believes you when you say you want certain things. So there's people can always put the stick in their own spokes if they like.
But the most successful people that you've seen on just in following the diet as far as mentality is the moderation, consistency, all the stuff people don't want to hear, right? Where it's just like if you stay consistent over time and take this in phases. Now, in your name, periodization, I think a lot of people overlook that when it comes to dieting. So is there any way you could explain that a little bit and how that came to be literally embedded in your business, the actual idea of periodization?
Yeah, so periodization is kind of like sometimes it's a good idea if things are especially long goals, then it's a good idea to split them up into logical parts to make them really achievable. For example, like we periodize our education in the United States. You go through regular school first to make you a competent adult. Then you choose a different kind of degree program as an undergraduate. And then you choose a graduate program potentially or some kind of work program because one makes the other better, but they're different enough to be really distinct. Like it would be really weird if elementary school and graduate school were in the same building. You know what I mean? It would just be like wildly different things.
I don't know.
So,
Sometimes I see in the college campus, I see something that looks like elementary school sometimes with the way people act.
Like, what the fuck? Harry Potter ass motherfucker. Every now and again, I like find myself on a college campus and I can't believe how young the kids are. I'm like, bro, like I'm pretty sure you need to go through puberty to get on college.
Yeah,
campus.
yeah. I was thinking the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's like I could not have possibly looked this young when I was in college.
Yeah, and I know I did too. That's the trippy part, as I was Harry Potter in college. So literally. But yeah, so with periodization, it's like we're trying to have long-term success. So like, for example, if you want to get down 35 pounds, that's a lot of weight to lose. And everyone always says like in the fall, and this is a New York example, in the fall, September, because you know August in New York is like all the fucking rich people are gone.
Yes, they're all in the Hamptons.
France.
Yes.
So yeah, Hamptons or France or wherever the fuck they go, to conspire against the rest of us. I'm just kidding. These are all lizard people. We know this. So they come back like September 1st or whatever, and they're like, hey, I need to lose 35 pounds by Thanksgiving. And you're like, yeah, that's a nice notion, that you'll almost certainly fail because it's too much too soon and you won't sustain it. So they say, okay, what's more reasonable? So, we can get you to lose 15 pounds by Thanksgiving. You'll probably gain back 2 or 3 if we prepare you adequately for the transition. And then later in February, you can start another diet that loses another 10 to 12 pounds, 10 to 15. And then you can maintain that over the summer. And then next fall, we do the final diet that loses you another last 10 pounds, and you're down 35 pounds. They're like, okay, do you realize that's a year later than my ideal? I'm like, yes, that's true. We can work a project in such a way that it's our best guess at what's going to work long-term for you to actually get you down 30. Because I also ask them, I fuck with people, I ask them a question, I'm like, you okay with dropping 35 pounds and fucking just ballooning back up 40 right after? And they're like, oh, hell no. I'm like, well, that's exactly what you're asking us to do. So I'm sorry that the way this process happened is in a phasic, periodized manner to set up the next phase, set up the next phase, set up the next phase for success, so that we can actually give you a body that's sustainable, 35 pounds less fat tissue. It's just this is the fastest way I can start to guarantee you results if you actually pull it off. So a very easy analogy is like, can you imagine telling someone like, okay, you got to launch this rocket to Mars and you got a year? It's like, okay, we can definitely blow something up on the platform in a year.
SpaceX. Yeah, sure.
Right. Like, sure. But like, if we're going to launch a rocket to Mars, maybe we need 5 years. And because, people say like, oh, government contracts, it's always too long. I get that. And it's not just us delaying. The thing is, for myself as a personal trainer back in the day, or now as like a leader of a company or whatever, one of the leaders, we would like to promise results as quickly as possible and as much as possible. Like, and this is the illusion between how some people think corporations work and how they really work. People think corporations just promise you these crazy benefits that never deliver just so you buy. Well, that's nice if you're a fly-by-night corporation. At RP, we're greedy as shit, so we want to be in business making $1 trillion an hour 5 and 10 years from now. The only way we're going to do that is offering a product that actually works. If we actually get people in shape, there's no better advertisement than people telling their friends. They're like, a fucking girl walks into a fucking store she hasn't been in a while, and she's sort of friends with the people that, like, it's a jewelry store or something, and they're like, oh my God, Wanda, what the fuck? Like, did you lose half your body? She's
Yeah,
like,
Wanda.
And they're like, right? And then they're like, how? Because, that's it. Like, that's the only part of the conversation that's relevant is how. And then she could say like, oh, like actually RP, and they're fucking really awesome. Give them a shot. Like, there's nothing to replace with that, where like Wanda comes in at 5 pounds bigger than ever, and the girls are like, hey, Wanda, what's up? And she's like, what's up? And they're like, how have you been? She's like, yeah, did a diet, regained all the weight. How are you guys? And they're like, well, we did the same thing. There's no endorsement at the end of that, right? So getting people what they actually want, which is long-term goals, is our biggest incentive. And to that end, we can't lie and try to make it seem like you could do it faster or more weight, because we're not interested in setting you up to fuck up. Like, imagine buying a car from Toyota that's advertised for all this, like, oh, it's super cheap and it works. You drive it off lot and it breaks. You're going to be like, you're never going to tell anyone to fucking buy a Toyota again.
Well, you're just going to get negative reviews, which is actually worse.
For sure, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're going to tell people not to buy a Toyota. And anyone who talks to you, you're just going to be like, don't buy a Toyota. But if Toyota is interested in being around for a long time, and they have been, you drive a Toyota off the lot, you're like, this is the fucking magic car. And then 5 years later, it has its first mechanical problem, whereas the cars your friends are buying have had one every year since they bought them. And you're like, dude, Toyota's the fucking shit. So it's in our best interest to give people. But here's the thing, a Toyota might be more expensive than a car that breaks down all the time. So when people ask, like, well, how come it's so expensive? It'd be like, because you're buying a valuable product.
Well, that's the value in it, though.
100%. We would love to.
Now, if you're trying to ingrain this successful mentality towards effective dieting, you've mentioned a couple of times where there's specific phases, right? And in between, what's that in between? That you have the concentrated effort and you have the in between. What would you recommend for your diet breaks to let your body adapt, and how does that come about?
Yeah, we call them maintenance phases, because diet breaks, I think, connotes a little bit too much of falling off the plan. Like, when your car breaks, that means you don't have a working car. When your diet breaks, it doesn't mean you don't have a working diet. So, I mean, maybe shit, you take a hard break. Maintenance phase.
That was the nicest way to tell me I'm wrong ever.
Yeah,
You're so polite.
Hey, listen, don't you ever use the term diet breaks around me. I'll find you in real life. I do look like a human tank. You're going to have serious fucking problems. I'm just kidding. You're from the Bronx. I would never. No, but bro, he's from the Bronx. He's like a real street. I'm not going to try to fuck with you,
No, he recently moved there.
No, I'm from California. I'm from the Bay Area, bro.
Doesn't matter. Don't tell people that, first of all. Second of all, because I'm telling you, we just had this conversation. You got to lie to people. I'm from the Bronx, born and raised. They don't fuck with you. Now that I know you're from Northern California, I'm for sure going to fuck you up because it's the easiest way I'll ever. You know, you're probably going to be like yelling about peace, give peace a chance while I physically beat you to death. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But if you're from the Bronx,
No, it's going to be equal
You're from the
opportunity.
Bronx,
He's
I
gonna
get
ask you to
stabbed.
break his other arm. So you got to break both arms.
100%. 100%. He's like, please just disable me. I'm not worth it. And you're like, holy shit, this guy's self-esteem is awful. But on a serious note, before I get my ass kicked by you taking this too seriously, the maintenance phase, and a diet break's a fine term, by the way. That was all a joke. Maintenance phase. Okay, mister, stay calm.
Emotional roller coaster.
Right, there you go. Maintenance phase. So let's say you lose like 10 pounds, but you want to lose 25. So you know that there's going to be another diet later. But if you regain the 10 pounds, then you just have another 25 left. It's like it never happened. So after you lose 10 pounds on a diet, what you call like sort of the more focused push, then you switch to a maintenance phase. You slowly bring back in more normal food. You slowly raise your calories up to maintenance. And maybe it goes too high and you got to toggle it back down, but over a period of like about the same length as the diet. So let's say you diet for 3 months, maintain for 3 months. At the end of it, the diet fatigue you've built up, that tendency of your body to go back up to its earlier weight is really, really declined. You're still training, you're still eating pretty well, a couple bullshit snacks here and now, every now and again. But at the end of that, first of all, you're down the whole 10 pounds. And also you're like psychologically and physically really just ready to diet again. Because if you diet 10 pounds off, another 10 pounds is real tough. 12 weeks back to back of dieting, 24 weeks dieting is hell. And some people just won't survive that. So with maintenance phases, you basically still have a good structure, but you get to relax a little to kind of breathe. It's like on weekends, maintenance phases are weekends to the weekdays of like the work diet, right? So like on a weekday, you work really hard. On a weekend, you don't just like not eat food and just sleep the entire time. You may even do a little bit of work, but it's less. Right, it's less. You still take showers. You don't let your whole routine go to hell, but you take it down a notch so that you can recover. And then by the time Sunday night comes up, you're like, I'm ready for a fucking work week to begin, baby. Let's get this money.
So what you're saying is that your template also just kind of includes the kind of emotional weight and the psychological weight of the like taking a little chance to just not be so strict and just
100%.
not be so obsessive about it.
It has to, right? Because we're interested in long-term success, and long-term success is made from periods of strictness and then periods of a break. The only thing, there's 2 rules of the break. 1, really relax. 2, don't let that relaxation go so far as to let you regain the weight. The good thing is maintaining your results is way, way easier than getting new results. Like if you have like an intensive program in the French language, that can be like, oh my God, it's super immersive, it's super tough. But maintaining what you've learned in French can be as easy as listening to like 15 minutes of a French audiobook every day and talking to your French roommate for like 5 minutes, and you're never going to get worse at French. It's just going to be months of you being the same. You don't have to live in Paris, France to keep up the French that you've learned. Learning new things, getting to new levels is tough. Keeping them does require something. Like if you completely disappear from the French language completely, like, well, then you're going to forget the shit, right? But just a bare minimum keeps it in line. Same with fitness. There's times to push and there's times to hold, and then you push again and then you hold again. Also, once your fitness weight loss journey is over, and let's say you got to 150 pounds, that's all you've ever wanted, and you just want to live. If you hadn't have practice maintaining, what are you going to do as soon as it's over? Someone's like, okay, your crazy diet is over now. Like, okay, how do I eat now?
Back to
like,
what got you there.
Yeah, it's the P90X. What do you do on day 91 conundrum?
100% I'm going to steal that because that's a fucking brilliant quote.
You're welcome.
What do you do after fucking day 91 or whatever? Fuck, I don't even know what the
I feel so
stands for. It's
validated.
90 days.
Yeah. I'm shit. I'm nothing. You're getting quotable.
Mic
That's
drop.
fantastic.
I'm done.
Northern California sucks. My wife is from Northern California, so she talks a lot of shit about it, but I have a special place in my heart.
At the bottom of your heart, like that gunky part that you don't want to really acknowledge.
The part was like, I understand homelessness is a problem, but what the fuck is going on here kind of part. I understand we're being compassionate, but why are people shitting in the street?
Yeah, I get that. Mike, I know you pick France as just a random place that you just chose as you were talking, but do you find a difference in mentality with how Americans just want instant gratification in the sense of, I started a diet, I expect to see results yesterday, as opposed to like if you've ever worked with somebody from like a foreign country? Is there a difference in that?
Yeah. More politically incorrect shit incoming.
Oh yeah, no, I'm setting you up for that.
Yeah.
Go.
I know, I can tell, motherfucker. So I'll say a couple of things. First of all, Americans, almost everyone in every country has a self-deprecating streak. And since Americans kind of know they're the shit globally, they love self-deprecating. And I'm not from America. I'm from Russia originally. So I've seen the other side. And I've
Yeah,
been
now he's from
around
Russia.
for
Yeah,
business.
okay.
Oh, fuck the Bronx. We straight got AKs. You motherfuckers shoot at AKs. Where do you think AKs are made, huh? Back in my hometown.
Yeah. Kalishnikov is a Russian name. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's my uncle. So just kidding, but that would be sweet.
It's his cousin.
That's right. It's my cousin. It's my son. Think about that. How old is Mike? So, what the hell are we saying? Oh yeah. So Americans like to self-deprecate. So they'll say shit like, "Oh, like it's this American mentality of like just trying to get things right away and not working for it." And I like to fuck with people that say that and go, "Oh, I got you." So it's like, where in the world are people like these unbelievably diligent, patient people? And they're like, everywhere else. Like, really? People are super diligent and patient everywhere else. So like, I went to Australia a bunch. They're kind of just like Americans. I've been to Russia. They're fucking worse at being diligent. Like, what do you think about that? They're like, okay. So you don't have to say Americans. Like, most of the world is human nature to want shit quick and to want it without any effort. Now, some other cultures have other quirks going for them. I think that, so for example, I think on average, really broad strokes, and this is just a hypothesis of mine, I don't know if it's true, I've gotten the perception that continental Europeans, so not the Irish, not the English or Scottish, but like French, Spanish, Italian, I feel like they understand. They don't have a get fit quick mentality as much. So they're like, no, I understand it's a process. No, yes. And you're like, wow, brilliant. But they're also less likely to take the process seriously. And they're more apt to take like random breaks from the shit. They're like, hey, how was your diet? He was like, we were in Marseille. There was no diets this week. And you're like, well, you didn't tell me you were going on vacation. Like, life is a vacation. Fitness isn't everything. And you're like, right. Okay, so we're never going to get to our goal. And like, what is the goal anyway? And you're like, no, wait, come on. Respect for enjoying the fuck out of life, but
and philosophical as fuck too,
right? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, like, what is my life if I don't take vacations in Marseille? But at the same time, so there's different groups of people have sort of their ups and downs, their pluses and minuses, and on average, Americans do just fine with fitness compared to most other folks, because some folks that are sort of more patient tend to not be as serious as far as dedication. I think Americans are pretty impatient, but if you really like shut up, do the work, it's going to be suffering. They accept that pretty well. Like, I got it. Fitness is suffering. Got it. And they can grind through. Other people don't grind through as well, but maybe other people are really good about sticking to long-term plans. I haven't seen, that Americans are any worse at dieting or better at dieting than any other group of people. There is an exception here. I have coached and been friends with a few Koreans, and they're just better at everything. So that just doesn't count. Like, they are machines. They execute the plan completely flawlessly. They'll get a six-pack in like 6 months out of nowhere. And you're like, how did you do this? Like, I ate exactly what you told me to and never missed a day of training. And you're like, of course, why the fuck wouldn't you do that? And then you're like, do you like your abs? And they're like, I don't like much of anything. And you're like, right, I got you. That Korean hot energy. So
do you feel that the adherence of the client, and this is just in general, we're talking about people that are just listening right now, their adherence actually increases with their perception of credibility from the coach? Like, if you're and how has that changed with the age of social media? Like, I know you said that your biggest billboard is word of mouth results, but as far as RP is concerned and your own personal coaching experience, do you feel like your credibility has increased just off of sheer social media and word of mouth to the point that people are more adherent than when you first started out?
So the real kicker here is I don't really have clients anymore. I do all pretty much digital product work. So I train a couple people. I coach a couple people online, just kind of as a joke, just for a hobby. But I will say that when you develop a reputation for getting people results, people are more likely to listen to you. I'll give you an example. That's not me, but just a category of people that I belong to. So there's like serious bodybuilding coaches. For example, people like Chad Nichols that coached Big Ramey to win the Mr. Olympia, right? Chad Nichols also coached Ronnie Coleman for, I believe, every single one of his 8 wins in the Olympia. So, like, if Chad Nichols gives you a diet plan and a pharmaceutical plan and a training plan, you paid him like $1 gazillion for it. Even if you didn't pay him any money, it's fucking Chad Nichols. Like, he fucking made Ronnie Coleman Mr. Olympia, and he made me Ray Mr. Olympia. you better fucking do
You're gonna follow it
what
to
the
the
fuck
letter.
he says.
Yeah.
Because he clearly, like, he knows what he's doing. Clearly, he's been getting people in shape. If you have like a college kid who's done his own contest prep once and he's helping you out, you might be like, like the kid knows some stuff. But if like another bodybuilder tells you like, oh, your carbs way too high, you should cut them. At the very least, if you're very nice, you'll be like, hey, college kid who's coaching me, should we cut our carbs? Because this other guy said so. But a lot of times it doesn't work like that. That person would just cut their carbs and not tell you a fucking thing. And then you're like, what the fuck are you doing? I thought you were doing a plan. Like, oh yeah, but it looks like I had a guy ghost me once. I was coaching him for free. And this was back before I was Dr. Mike. And he like was doing fine on the plan. And then he just switched, never told me. And he got really lean. He did really well at a competition. And later he was like, yeah, man, you just like, a lot of the guys say like low carb and you just never did that. So like, I just switched. And I want to be like, fuck you. Like, you never even told me you were switching, piece of shit. And the guy's a fucking piece of shit. Hilariously enough, he went nowhere in the sport and quit just a few years later. But it's shit like that if you have a name, you're much less likely to do that. Because, can you imagine? Like, hey, Chad Nichols, what do you think about what this other coach does? He'd be like, how many Olympians does that coach have? 0. But shut the fuck up. But he would never even say that.
Yeah.
Just
Where can they see this as all these transformations? I see them all the time on Instagram. It's RP Strength. On Instagram, they can see the transformations from clients.
Well, yes. So RP Strength at RP Strength is great, but we have another account entirely dedicated to transformations called RP Transformations.
Okay.
And that's like 150,000 followers of just
erase this chalk. I don't know. We've got the wrong one. Yeah, damn it.
No, RP Strength is great. They'll find RP Transformations right off of there anyway.
Okay, great. Are we at time?
The artist.
No, we're still good. We can keep going a little bit.
Okay, so RP Transformations and that will be just it's entirely dedicated to transformations.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. What is what's the biggest one that you've seen recently? Like, I know you work with so many clients, but I mean, is there anyone that really surprised you where you're just like, whoa?
There's one that is on RP Strength today. So look up today's posts just on RP Strength. There's a lady that like just looks a completely different person. Like, she went from like frumpy housewife to like supermodel, and you're just like, what? Like, you would look at it and you would be like, unless this was part of a transformation, if you gave me these two pictures separately and be like, what do you think of this girl versus that girl? I would treat them as completely different.
Oh, there's short hair to long hair. She had short hair in the beginning. I just saw it today. That's why I said it was today.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
She's wearing like a cutoff midriff kind of thing.
Yeah.
Second.
It's insane.
Like,
it's just consistency and work ethic. Essentially, what you
it really
found,
is like
the results in personal training and results
100%.
in everywhere else in the world, consistency and work ethic.
100%. It's the people that are willing to just do the small things every day and be consistent. And I know it sounds so fucking trite and lame. And like all these personal trainers and coaches go on and they say like, oh, hashtag consistency is all that matters. So I'll real talk. Genetics matters. If you have shitty genetics, it's going to be tougher. Or your pre and post won't look as different as you would like. Some people use supplements and drugs for bodybuilding, and that's a big deal. But whatever cards you're dealt, your number one weapon is consistency, because all those people that get in shape, even with drugs and with good genetics, they all have the consistency too. Big Ramey's not out here missing workouts and meals. Yeah, he takes drugs and yeah, he has phenomenal genetics, but he never misses a beat. Like, if he misses a beat, he's not Mr. Olympia. So it works all the way the same with that housewife. And that's what I really like about just like regular folks getting in shape. You get some sleepers, man. Like people that are just like whatever, and all of a sudden they just like diligently apply themselves.
Everyone has their own genetic disposition, and the trick in the sense of like writing a proper program for them is accenting that part so they could feel better about themselves, but also strengthening the stuff that they need help with as well. So you can work with someone's genetics easily.
For sure. And work with their preferences. They just have to understand that work is coming. You know, like if they say like, well, I have bad genetics, be like, oh, you still got to put in the work. They're like, okay. If they're okay with it and they really do it and they're consistent, then they're going to see like okay results and then better results and then really, really good results. And then a couple of years later, they're a different person and people are asking them like, oh my God, it must have been so tough. And they're like, yeah, kind of, but I'm so used to doing it. It doesn't seem tough anymore. And it's all about building habits and just doing the same things over and over again. You get used to them. And then when you emerge from the hyperbolic time chamber of badassery and you are super in great shape, people are like, oh my God.
That'd be a great chamber.
That's a dope ass chamber. That's better than like Dragon Ball Z type of like,
100%, man. That's where I got it from. But like, no, but like people literally will think like, oh man, you probably did this in a real short time, and you probably had some tricks. And a lot of times it was neither a short time, it was a year or two or more. And also there was not many tricks. Like, it's funny to ask people, like, sometimes RP will tag the person, or actually almost every time they'll tag the person who gained the transformation. And then people will never be on Instagram below the transformation picture. They'll ask, they'll be like, oh my God, how'd you do this? Oh my God, like, did you eat carbs during this time, or blah, blah, blah. And the answers the person gives are sometimes, like, you can tell how sort of like under like toned they are, because people will be like, oh my God, so like, did you have like no carbs the whole time? They're like, no, I ate like 200 grams of carbs a day. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah, I didn't eat a lot of junk food and I stayed really consistent. And you can tell it's like this deflationary like sound of the person who's asking the questions didn't get that like one cool trick, you know.
Yeah, they want that dramatic.
Like, oh,
Yeah, and they know what they want to hear. Once they
that.
heard I stayed consistent, they're like, that sounds like work.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've had people in like, you talk to people in airports and stuff, like randomly, or you sit next to someone on a plane and they'd be like, okay, so no carbs, right? And I'm like, no, tons of carbs. And they're like, really? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to feed your low carb zealotry today. Sorry, that's not the way things actually work. And they're kind of like, they want to know that they already know how to get in shape. They just haven't done it. They're like, yeah. I've had literally people tell me like, yeah, I know it's cut the carbs, but I like my carbs. I'm like, it's not cut the carbs. That's a problematic thing for them to hear, because they're using that like, I need carbs still as an excuse. To them, it's like, I could get lean and not have carbs, but no, I need my carbs. So that's why I'm not getting lean. So when they say like, okay, cutting carbs, right? Like, no cutting carbs. They're like, oh shit. I need another excuse for why I'm not doing this.
They're validating their lack of results with these falsehoods that are just misconceptions, because they're just kind of dismissing what it actually takes.
Yeah. And what it actually takes is like, it's not actually that hard or that weird or fuck up your life. It just takes time and effort. And nobody wants to say, oh, like I would totally get lean, but I just don't want to put in the time and effort. I mean, some people say that, but
I think also you start coming across people's relationship with food, which I don't think a lot of people are actually aware of. It's like some people literally have a toxic relationship with food, and that's where a lot of pitfalls arise.
Yeah, I was like that as a kid. My parents would bring home bleach to wash our clothes with, and I would just drink the bleach. And the doctor was like, "You have a toxic relationship with food." It made a little sense.
I was more of a softener, because
Right. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's easier on the throat too. The softener gets down there better. Bleach is just rough.
Hey, those are skills for a lifetime right there.
You know what though? After you do like a psychedelic mushroom journey, you feel like clean. Yo, real talk, bleach cleans you out. You're gonna feel all kinds of clean.
Okay, Trump.
I'm not sure I understood any of that analogy.
It's not an analogy. I'm literally telling you to drink bleach because I
doctor.
trust our president.
That's true.
He's a doctor.
No, forget me being a doctor. Donald Trump's our president. He said that. And that's right. He's still my president. God damn.
And the followers that we would have gotten.
But now you have Donald Trump followers. Enjoy. What are you drinking? What are you drinking?
It's Starbucks.
Bullshit. There's like some kind of weird black liquid in a self-made container.
That'd be coffee.
That's coffee. Do you not drink coffee?
No. I'm a good person. I don't need drugs to help me do my job.
Wow, I feel judged and attacked.
Well,
now drink your drugs, sir.
I am Colombian, so there is that.
Oh, there you go.
But thank you so much for the time today, man. I really appreciate it more. I've been following and reading your stuff for a very, very long time. So what they can find you, the best place to find you is what we have written up on the board.
Yep, 100%.
RP Dr. Mike, RP Strength, RP Transformation on Instagram.
Hey, it's like us with all our more than meathead stuff.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I gotta say, guys, thank you for having me on. The art was incredible. I can tell you really put some effort into it. And
not the conversation.
The conversation was awful. This is the worst podcast I've ever done. So
we're consistent. Suck. This is usually how we go about things. So
you're nothing if not consistent.
Exactly.
No, guys, honestly, it's been really sweet. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you for doing this, Mike.
You.
We really appreciate you. Hopefully we can do this again sometime and just keep going more in depth. And yeah, man, this is great, man. Appreciate you.
I'm gonna jump on that chat.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, one more question. So you said you're actually Colombian?
Yes.
Do you ever like buy coffee at some place and they're like, I'll have the Colombian roast, and they're like, okay, you have a sample, and you're like, listen, I'm Colombian. This is bullshit. And they're kind of get guilty. They're like, oh, fuck, like, are we being ripped off? Is this really not Colombian coffee? I mean, this man's clearly Colombian. He's telling us it's bullshit. Do you ever fuck with people like that?
Absolutely. I tell him that I'm actually related to Juan Valdez, that he's my uncle.
Do you do that with cocaine as well?
I do that with many Colombian products and just walk in as a quality
Which includes
tester.
cocaine and coffee. That's it.
Yeah, besides Shakira, those are our most important exports. So I have to make sure there's quality control on each of those products.
100%.
So I appreciate your question.
Thank you so much.
This is great.
Guys. Take
All
care.
right, Mike. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Peace. Bye-bye.
You know, this used to happen to me a lot when I was in like physical school. Is
Physical school?
physical? Well, not like
We grew up different.
not like. I mean, in person. Jesus. So I look back at my notes from this interview.
Mm-hmm.
I took so many notes that some of them are upside down. Like, I'm trying to figure this thing out. This like Rubik's Cube of knowledge bombs he just dropped on us.
As we start interviewing more and more people, it's, you know, we're learning how to interview people as well, full disclosure.
They
But-
couldn't tell.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's kind of tricky to not let the person just rattle off for too long. I had to check myself, like, oh man, I should say something now, because it's
Enthralled is the word you're looking for.
yeah, I was engrossed is more like it.
He did use the word engorged as well.
He did use the word
Yeah.
engorged. Yeah, it was great.
Jesus. So the biggest takeaways from this, everything. So just listen to it.
Biggest takeaway is watch the video. Are his arms?
Yeah.
I enjoyed during the
Took my breath away.
yeah, Tom Cruise.
Hey.
I enjoyed when he would try to like scratch the back of his head, and his arms are so big that he could barely scratch. It's like more like that's as far as that's going.
Yeah, like cute and cuddly, and he could kill me kind of way.
Yeah, human pretzel. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, he did mention that as well. That's the only notes we took away from this.
Basically.
Was engorged human pretzel. That's it. But like all, I don't know, successful people, it seems to be like there's a through line of strategies here.
Yeah.
Work ethic and consistency keep pumping up.
That flavor of template seems to be a constant that we encounter.
Yeah, and what I loved about it was, if I had to sum it up, is where he's talking about the actual product that he produces. And the product is results. And the only thing I can think of in my head is, as far as all those, I mean, there are influencers out there that are clearly trying to take advantage of a market that is not quite as, I don't want to say educated, but not
It's
quite.
buyer beware. It's buyer beware.
And there's no filter that replaces results.
No. Well, I like also his approach is no bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just no bullshit. He literally talked about how he had a client that just wasn't into the same type of wavelength and work ethic that he was into. So it's like, no bullshit. Just going to pass it on to somebody else, where it just feels like that's the type of person that client wanted to work with.
Yeah,
So-
but you have that standard for yourself, then the people that you reflect will have standards as well.
Yeah. So that's what you have to project. So like attracts like. So he was talking about the people that he would work with have that same work ethic that he needed and he wanted for himself.
Ooh,
Yeah.
what's going on there?
Dropping shit.
But when he was speaking about what I like is the name. Like, most people don't take into consideration where names come from, and so people just name it whatever. 12.
This is catchy.
But yeah, but like, think about it. All those little protocols out there that are just get rich quick scheme type of thing, they're all like, what, 12 weeks to shredded program.
Yeah.
He literally named his company Renaissance Periodization. So he's letting you know, like you said, the expectations are right there as far as this is a long-term type of deal. Like, this is a long-term results, so we're going to look at it from a long-term perspective. We're going to work backwards from that goal, and it's going to take a while, but it's going to be actual results. It's not going to be something that you hit a marker and then fall right back off.
Well, right up front, when he would talk to his clients and break down, it's like, all right, these are your goals. This is what you're looking to do. This is a year breakdown of what it's going to take.
Yeah, and there's phases to it.
Yeah. So it couldn't be more on the nose of what it is that you're getting into.
And that's naturally just a weeding out process, to be honest with you, because we come across people like that all the time. Where
absolutely.
The clients that have stuck with me through this pandemic or even in person are the ones that look at it from that perspective. That there are different phases of training, but at the end of the day, you are still working towards a long-term goal.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that just want to, like he mentioned, being in New York, the fall to Thanksgiving, that little gap of 2 months. There really is like a second New Year's resolution. That little gap right there when people try to drop as much weight as possible, those aren't the type of people that will remain consistent.
Well, the ones that he said he got the most results from were not the ones with that type of mentality. So he was immediately just calling the herd in that sense of like, this is who I'm going to work with, this is who I want to work with.
Yeah, and the work ethic consistency, and one more thing I wanted to touch on, which he brought up, and we brought up before, where it's an accountability. And it's in no way a judgment. I think a lot of people confuse the two, where you got to take accountability for your part in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And if you bring up that, he mentioned like, so you'll have people that bring up this straw man, this thing that they can point to that takes the accountability off themselves, where it's like, oh, the reason why I'm not getting results is because I don't want to do whatever fad diet.
Yeah.
It is. And then when you actually sit there and talk to them about what it would actually take, you have to have that moment of honesty to be like, oh, I don't want the results because I don't want to put this work in.
Yeah, it's easy for people to say, oh, I want to get a six-pack. It's like, but do you know the actual, not monetary cost, the actual cost of that? Like what it's really going to take.
And you can find on the transformations, RP transformations on Instagram, is where you can see all these people who made the decision and followed through.
And these are just regular, ordinary people. These aren't celebrities that had to do something for a role. These aren't.
We're not on there.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah,
not yet.
But let's celebrity. I think they have a separate celebrity page.
Yeah. We're on what you have to keep sliding on it.
I don't think that's the right app. But try your luck, I guess.
Whatever works, bro.
But I am extremely grateful for his time. He is a big name in the industry and titan of knowledge, and I'm very appreciative.
Look forward to just keeping lines of communication going with him, and also looking forward to having him back on the show again at whenever we can.
Yeah, we're volunteering him right now.
Basically. Yep. Yeah. Documentation. Consider this documentation.
Well, according to him, we gotta earn our more than. So we got work to do, baby.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. Just remember, we try to keep it fun, functional, and factual, because it's the only F's that we give. All right, guys, don't be assholes. Be kind to one another. Take care. Bye.
Solid, straightforward, professional.
Done. It's who we are.
I don't think that part's true.
Nope.